Hi everyone, this is Miss Ward and Davey once again. Tonight we're going to be going over Concept 5 of your Plate Tectonics unit, and we will be talking about the different types of plate boundaries this evening. So, there are 3 different types of plate boundaries, and plate boundaries are just, what that means is just the areas where 2 or more plates come together, where they touch. So, think of the crust as a big shell that's been, like an eggshell that's been cracked into a bunch of pieces. Specifically, in this case, 15 pieces. And plate boundaries are where all those cracks are. That's where all those different pieces meet and touch one another. So the 3 different types of plate boundaries are divergent boundaries, convergent boundaries, and transform boundaries. And each type is associated with a characteristic type of geologic activity. So a divergent boundary is where we will start. At a divergent boundary, 2 plates move away from one another. Divergent means you're going away from one another. You're avoiding one another, pulling apart. Mid-ocean ridges occur on divergent boundaries. Every mid-ocean ridge is a situation where you have a divergent boundary. A rift valley forms where these 2 plates pull apart and they separate. This is where we discussed several notes ago, where the plates are pulling apart and new magma is rising up from underneath. Most are located on the ocean floor, but it can happen where continents are separated by plate movement. So you can get a rift valley on land. It's not nearly as common, but it does occasionally happen. As plates pull apart in one part of the world, they must be crashing together in another, because the Earth is not consistently changing size. It's not getting bigger and it's not getting smaller, so it's pulling apart somewhere. It has to be pushing together somewhere else. Convergent boundaries happen when 2 plates are colliding into one another. 3 things can happen at convergent boundaries depending on the density of the crust. So we'll go over each of those 3 types of situations. So first of all, you can have oceanic crust that's going against continental crust. So oceanic and continental coming together. In that case, every time, the oceanic crust will go below the continental crust. It does what we call, the word is called subducts. Subducts means it goes underneath. Think of ducking for something. You're bending down. You're going underneath, okay? So it's going to subduct under the continental crust. This can cause deep ocean trenches and volcanic mountains. And the second option is that continental crust can hit continental crust and make a mountain range, so it can kind of just crash into each other and kind of crumple up, and you get those mountains. The next option is you have oceanic crust that can hit oceanic crust. And in that case, one will subduct, and generally they form island arcs in this case. So depends on a couple more factors, but one of the pieces will subduct underneath the other one, so they don't form mountain ranges. Instead, one will go underneath. Alright, and the third type of boundary is a transform boundary. A transform boundary is simply when 2 plates slide past one another horizontally. So they're sliding next to each other, and they scrape, and that's what causes earthquakes, is when we have a transform boundary. Unlike the other 2, they do not produce magma, so you're not going to have volcanoes or anything like that at transform boundaries. Instead, you're going to just have a lot of earthquake activity. Alright, that's it for tonight's notes. Make sure you go online, you do the whisk, and if you haven't done the ones from the first 4, go on how to do those as well. Have a great night.